Welcome everyone to another episode of Conversations with Coaching. My name is Luba. I'm the founder of Upthink Coaching and credentialed coach, a coach trainer, mentor, and a supervisor. And this is my passion project where I'm meeting various coaches from all over the world who specialize in various coaching niches and approaches just to share how diverse and interesting coaching can be, no matter the topic. Today, I'm very happy to introduce Vivian Xu Liang, a fellow PCC coach who is now based in Paris. And we are going to talk about coaching around executive presence. Hi, Vivian. Thanks for joining.
Hello, Luba. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very glad to have this conversation with you and with our fellow coaches.
Right. Would you like to introduce yourself a bit? I'm sure you can do that better than I will.
Oh, well, you did a wonderful job. So, yes, my name is Vivian, and my Chinese name is Liang Xu. And so, my good friends call me Xu Xu, which is very cute. And yes, I'm an executive coach based in Paris. And I was in Shanghai before, and I often do travels to Shanghai. So, I call myself a coach based in both Shanghai and Paris. So yeah, that's who I am in a nutshell.
Right. So today we will talk about executive presence, and I do have a personal interest in the topic. I think leadership presence is something that emerges regularly in my work, and I do have a lot of leaders who want to know how to grow it. And so let me first ask you, how do you define executive presence?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So first of all, what is presence? Let's talk about what is presence, right? As in the ICF core competencies, we talk a lot about presence, the coach presence. It means that we need to be there, we need to engage with our client, we need to be let the other person feels like we are here, we are supportive, and so on and so forth. And I think for executives or for leaders in general, that is also the case. When people show up at their workplace, either verbal conversation or non-verbal presence in the room, the team, the organization, the people around them need to feel like okay, this is leader who takes responsible. This is a leader who support us. This is a leader who has empathy, who listens to us, who guide us sometimes, and who is a good leader that I want to follow. So that is how I define executive presence. Well, at the same time, when people want to work on executive presence, they often interpret it or translate this concept into how they behave so that they can create this impact, right? So, how they show up physically, how they communicate, how they deliver the presentation, deliver the important one-on-one conversation, so on and so forth, so that the other person can feel like that. At the workplace, we communicate through words, what we say, and we also communicate with non-words vocabularies. For example, our tones, our voice, our body. And I believe there's this scientific research saying that only like 10% or 7% of information, very little of information, is delivered through the text, the content that we're saying. All the rest, 90% are delivered or make people feel through nonverbal. And this nonverbal part lies in the presence. That's how I understand it. So, yeah, let's pause there and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, I've seen some executive presence models that I think also include the posture or dress or, some appearance characteristics. Do you think coaches deal with that as well? Or is it more kind of in the training area? How I look, how I dress, how I move as an executive?
Well, it depends. First of all, everything matters, how we move, how we dress. For example, if I show up in a board meeting, I wouldn't wear a pajama, right? It needs to be formal. So what we wear matters. But the way that I work maybe is not we are not focusing on that. That's for me, that's more like etiquette or like a charisma. But for me, I focus with my client more on their own presence from their being, from their whole person, instead of the external decoration.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the way we move, that is also I call it outside in or inside out method, which means if, for example, if we do feel confident, we move in a way that makes people realize that we are a confident person, right? And if even we are not, right? If we have some doubts and the inner critics inside, and if we train from the outside to walk in a power position, in a Superman position, it can also reflect inside and enhance our internal dialogue. So I would say, this body posture or something that we can work from external do have the impact in the internal. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is not to teach people, okay, when you walk, you need to walk this way. When you stand, you need to put your hand there, that way. Now, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to help my client to feel how they feel comfortable and at ease internally so that it can manifest and reflect on the outside and make people feel the same and influence and make their impact efficiently. That's the way how I
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think it's important to make this distinction so that people who come to coaching around executive presence know exactly what to expect, right? This helps people set their
Yes.
expectations. So I'm wondering whether this is the skill that can be faked. There's this phrase, fake it until you make it. At the same time, when we talk about presence and when I listen to you, I do get this feeling that it's really about authenticity and supporting each leader in finding or maybe connecting with the way they can impact others that comes from within. So what's your take on this?
That's a good question. First of all, I think the presence or any kind of presence, in executive presence included, is not only a skill, it is part of who we are. If we are supporting, if we are encouraging, if we are confident, it's not skill like it's not a skill we say okay we use it now we don't use it then or we use it in some circumstances not the others, so it's a part of who we are, and this is a part that we can for sure train or put us into environment so that we can embody them. So back to your question. So can we train it or can we fake it and until we make it? Well, the short answer is yes. I believe you have watched the TED Talk video done by Amy Cuddy, who the title of the TED Talk is We Fake It Until We Make It. And the science behind it is that when we fake it in an intelligent way, our external behavior will integrate it into our internal mindset and values. So that is possible, but it doesn't mean that we fake it and we'll for sure fake it very well at the very beginning and everybody consider you authentic. It's a process. It's like how to say it, it's like a ballet training, right? At first, we train the legs. We train the legs en dehors, external. And at the beginning, it was so painful. We need to think about how to put the feet en dehors. But after 10 years or 20 years of training, you just do it naturally because it's part of who you are. It's part of how you dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's really insightful. So how did you arrive at this niche? So what got you interested in coaching around executive presence?
Okay. Um, well, let's start from the very beginning, how I started coaching.
Yes.
For me, I started my career in IT. I was IT engineer by training. I started my career in IT and climbed to the corporate ladder until IT manager, deputy IT director. And then it was 10 years ago, 2015, I did my MBA at INSEAD, and that experience led me to consulting. A few years in consulting, I gained so much experience, but also that was a moment that I started to reflect. Well, I have studied and I have worked for many years, but still I didn't know why I'm here, why I go to work, and why just get up every day and do the things that I'm supposed to do. So that was the moment I started to reflect on myself, my career, and that is how I started coaching. And at the beginning of my coaching career, it lands very organically and naturally that I become an executive coach because of my business and the corporate background. And most of my clients came to me for leadership coaching or organizational coaching or executive coaching. So this executive coaching, so-called niche, so falls naturally on me at the beginning. What is more interesting is that I started drama school a few years ago, and I started for personal development reason. So I want to know myself even better and express myself even better. So I started drama school. I started to study theater and acting. And when I started the drama school, I felt like I'm in a coaching school once again because we learn about listening, active listening, deep listening, engagement, connecting with your partner, engage with the audience, so on and so forth. And I was like, wait a minute, sounds so familiar. I had, I learned about it at the coaching school so many times. So already I found this fundamental connection between coaching and acting. And along the way, when I practice theater, when I practice acting, and there are the dots, running at the back of my head. And at some point, I finally succeed connecting this dot and tell myself, okay, this might be something interesting if I combine acting and coaching in a wise wise way or in a smart way or in an intelligent way, it might bring people something interesting because the traditional or the conversation based coaching, we work through language, we work through words, which goes into our left brain. Even though we work on imagination, but it still, the language goes through the left brain, right? But acting sometimes, or most of the time, it requires us to get off the logic, get off the rationality. We need to use our whole body to engage, which is more on the artistic right brain. And it also involves the whole body. So I feel this whole, the two has the fundamental connection. At the same time, they complete each other. And that is why I find it, I want to have this, this combination. And the executive presence comes from a reflection of, okay, now I want to combine the two and how I can do that and what brings the most value let's say to my clients, to the market. And I think the presence is something that I think might help many leaders as especially now with technology and AI. I do believe that human connection, human influence and impact is more and more important, especially for senior leaders who spend most of their time in communication. And this impact is what is needed and what is important as well.
Yeah, I actually see a lot of evidence of what you're saying in my own work, especially, when I look at the level of the leaders who usually request coaching around leadership presence or executive presence. It's usually, more senior, not first time leaders who become aware of this component, that's essential for their leadership, and maybe that newer leaders often miss because they're busy with finding their voice or self-management or self-awareness or leading the team. There's so
Yes.
much to do. And I really appreciate how you connected the dots between your IT background, your business education, your coach training, and your interest in drama. I think this is essential because as a coach trainer, I see a lot of coaches who do not connect these dots, right? And I've seen and heard, um, from some coaches that they think now that they're a trained coach, they start from a blank page and they're starting almost from the ground up because they're
Mhm.
fairly new in coaching. And I always try to expand their perspective by saying, you learned a new set of competencies, but you are an established professional. You have life experience, you have your personality, you have your interests, you have, so much background that you can build on and integrate into your coaching, right? So it's just like additional skill set. And being a new coach doesn't kind of make you new professional overall, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think whoever wants to become a coach, they don't need to start from scratch. Their past life experience, career experience, educational experience, anything can be part of them, and that is what makes everybody, every coach, unique and different. So I would like to say that, if we compare ourselves as a house, right? Become a coach or transition into a coach, it means that we put a new window on the wall of the house so that through this angle, we look at you. It doesn't mean that we need to construct the whole mansion, the whole house from scratch. So our past experience becomes us, and also we have this accumulated wisdom inside of us that we need to, for sure, we need to use them, and they are helpful. For sure, they're helpful for our clients. And in coaching, it's us as a person who is the vessel, who is the tools for our clients. And it's such a shame and a waste if we don't, we get rid of our past and scrum from zero. And I find it, no, please don't do that.
Yeah. That's exactly what I mean. So I'm curious, when your clients find you and this topic of executive presence or leadership presence emerges, is it something that they're already aware of? Do they come intentionally and say, "Hey, Vivian, I want you to coach me around executive presence," or do you kind of help them figure it out? Maybe you recognize it's executive presence, but they don't necessarily frame it as a specific request. How does that happen?
For me, I would say after claiming myself as a or clarifying my positioning as an executive presence coach, most of the client came to me for this topic. Okay, Vivian or Xu, I want to improve my presence. Although they define presence in their own way, but I can tell that more or less they have noticed the importance of the presence, or they have some challenge or difficulties at work on the presence aspect. For example, they already know 200% of their specialties of their work, and then they want to make sure their contributions can be part of the decision making, or they want to leave good impressions in front of an important leadership team. They want to be impactful, so on and so forth. They all have this need when they come to me. This is the case for me. As I said before, everyone had their own interpretations or understanding of presence. So, of course, I share what I understand of how I understand presence, how I work on presence, and get aligned with them. Is this something that I can help you with? So on and so forth.
Great. So, without disclosing any client information, of course, right, and respecting confidentiality, could you share some examples of requests that clients bring? And this is just to illustrate to the people who'll be watching what kind of request may fall under executive presence in clients' words or in clients' understanding.
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Um, I remember there was a client, let's call her, just gave her a fake name. Let's call her Lucy. Lucy came to me when she was hired by another company. She was a director in her current position, and she was hired by another company. Started as a director, but promised to promote it to VP in 1 year time. So she came to me after this taking this offer and 2 months before embarking to her new job. And her request was that, okay, my current role is very operational and technical. And I know that my future role is more on the leadership or on the core management part. I want to make sure that I show up in my new position already as a future leader instead of being considered as a operation expertise. So that's one
Showing
example.
up as a leader. These are some
Exact is
signal
a
words,
executive.
right?
Exact is a senior person who makes a strategic decision instead of being operational.
Yeah.
Well, from my side, when I see her, I see so much potential in her, but I can understand, when you immerse yourself daily in operational, maybe the way you think, the way you behave is more on the operational. We just need to be familiar with ourselves on the leadership, on the strategic, on the visionary side. So that is one of my client. Uh, Another client, let's call him Matthew, maybe. So Matthew was a GM, regional manager of a pharmaceutical company, and he has excellent educational background, excellent career background, and he's super smart, and he pays attention to details of all the numbers and everything. However, it is very interesting that at his level, because of his intelligence, because of his ability paying attention to details, he's struggling with introduction, especially elevator pitch. When he introduced himself, you can imagine a list of items like from this year to this year I did this, great. From that year to that year
Like a
I did that.
CV
Exactly, like a CV,
reporting.
like a list of a shiny diamonds, like a necklace.
Yeah.
However, does it help when you meet the CEO and you say, okay, you have on one sentence or only 30 seconds to introduce yourself? Does it really help to give him your experience necklace, right? Not really. So now we need to switch the mindset. How can you summarize or even summarize in a way that you grow out of your experience and deliver that information to the CEO? Of course, there's some content related or some cognitive left brain related work. At the same time, when you deliver it, do you show up as a busy leader? He was very multitasking kind, this and that, bam, 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 bam. When I talk to him, his head never stops. His head is always, like so. It gives me impression that, oh my God, I'm so busy. I need to leave. But is this
Yeah.
the impression that you want to leave in front of the CEO when you meet him, right?
Yeah. I think these are some important points. And I also noticed that leaders who would like to get coached around executive presence, they also have this task of increasing their visibility across the organization, because as they're stepping into the new role or they start to work in new geographical areas, um, the visibility in their own office may not be enough, and they need to kind of grow their visibility, work more cross-functionally, and grow their network inside and outside of their organization. So I can imagine why introductions can be so crucial.
Yes, yes, of course. I would like to say for executives or for senior leaders, every conversation is crucial. There's a phrase in French which I don't know how to translate into English. In French, it says, "Tout est important, rien n'est grave." It means everything is important, but nothing is truly serious. So I think that's the case for all conversations or communications for executives. Every encounter, the people you meet, the conversation with senior, more higher or more senior leaders you meet, or your team or your peers, your presence is there. Everything is important. However, they're not crucial. Nothing will kill you. You just be yourself. The more you be yourself, the more you're authentic in front of others, actually, the better it is for a lasting, a longer collaboration.
Okay. Well, how do you help these leaders bridge the gap? So, what does coaching around executive presence entail? Is it about some specific frameworks or models that you use? Is it conversation based? Is it somatic based? Or just could you share a bit more of an insider's work, insider's peek into your work?
Of course. First of all, I came up with the framework myself. I combined my coaching experience and the theater, and I create this framework myself. I'm not sure how much I can prove it scientifically, but so far it works very well with my clients. So I have this inside out and outside in method. Inside
Okay.
out, which means that we use conversation based traditional coaching dialogues for them to reflect on, for example, their internal
Mm,
critics, their fears and doubts, who they are, their values and strengths, mindset, and so on and so
yeah.
forth. And also I invite them to reflect how these insights that you have gained from conversation can manifest on the outside. That is one way. Another method I use is outsiding, which means we work very much on the body, the voice, the look, our maybe facial expressions, everything, and to see how they feel in the inside. For example, I invite my client to walk, just to walk through the room from here to
Yeah.
there, and we correct our posture in a way. Okay, imagine yourself as the Queen of England, right? You walk in a way and imagine yourself in several ways, and then they comes to a posture that when they look at in the mirror. Oh, by the way, we work in front of a mirror, a large mirror in a dancing room. So when they look at themselves in the mirror and the posture, they realize that this is a confident me that I want to find. Okay, good. Now stay in that posture and now be aware of your internal. What is going on? What are you aware of yourself internally? So from this was an example, but there are many ways to work with according this outsiding. So now you can have a glance how to build the bridge between our internal, our inner side and our outer side as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's super interesting. I know that video recording can be super informative and eye-opening. I record myself on video a lot. I record myself on audio a lot, and I think I've gotten so many insights about the way I show up that I never imagined. And it's a great self-reflective exercise. So, how do you strike a balance between this inner and outer ways of working, because the inner one is kind of clear to coaches, right? So that we have
Mm,
coaching conversations, exploring the inner story, maybe some inner barriers that stand in the way of ideal executive presence for that person, right?
mm,
But the outer story, it includes some maybe elements of training or posture coaching, that's not
mm.
a traditional kind of ICF model of coaching. So, how do you strike the balance between the two?
Okay, the question about balance, but I also heard the ICF model standard. I will come to that later because that's very interesting. The
Yes.
balance, I would say it depends. It depends on everybody, each one of them. More people, I mean, in general, if we work on the inside, I always invite him to have this awareness how to manifest on the outside, the confidence, the empathy, so on and so forth. And when we work on the outside, and of course, I always invite him to link to themselves on the inside. Imagine as the yin yang, the Chinese yin yang is always twinkled together.
Yes.
So, and how much of in inside of yang, how much yang inside of in, it depends on the individual. And also it depends on the flow that I work with each client. I would
Right.
say
So it's
in
customized,
general,
right? It's not
exactly
kind of one
customized.
rigid formula or
No,
way.
it's not. It's not a
Yeah, that's
training. It's
beautiful.
not teaching and tell. It's still coaching.
Right, right. But
Yes.
just using their body as invitation to reflect, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. That's why I found what you said about the ICF framework or the ICF model. When you mention it, actually, that was one of the questions I reflect on for a long time. As a coach, when I discovered this somatic work or when I discovered this executive presence work, I was very much worried. And I asked myself, does it mean that you are no longer a coach or no longer an ICF certified coach? Do you want to be a trainer? Do you want to tell people how to behave or not? So I reflect on that question. At the same time, I try some exercise and some workshop with some of my trusted angel clients. And after some practice, I noticed that even as a executive presence coach, even how I work is not traditional conversation based, but I follow, it's very funny, I follow strictly the ICF broader standards or ethical requirement. For example, when we do the executive coaching, it's not going to be telling and teaching. I'm not going to tell you how you look at the audience in the eyes, how to put your hands, how to move your body, so on and so forth. No, that's not the case. We work on the individual so that the clients knows themselves the best and they find their best way that they want. Very much like conversation that we follow in the coaching, right? And also another example is that when we work on the exercise on the somatic part, I provide my feedback, and that feedback is the same as a feedback that when I hear the client say something, I will say, okay, In coaching conversation, we'll say, okay, I hear you say this and that. And what do you think of that, right? Or I hear you say that and that. What is your value behind? What's your belief behind, right? And when it comes to somatic work, it's the same. Okay, I see your body is like, for example, I see when you deliver your presentation, you didn't move your hands for 5 minutes. What happened inside of you during those 5 minutes?
That's very deep, isn't it?
Exactly. They may feel, oh, wow, during those 5 minutes, I was saying something that I'm not sure. So, oh, that is why, because I'm not sure of the message that I'm delivering. So my body, freeze in a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And I'm
also,
so grateful
and
you are
this,
sharing this, because I think this dilemma, if I niche down or if I do kind of specialty coaching, if I use models or frameworks or even exercises or tools, does that mean that I'm not following the best practices of coaching? But I
yeah,
think once you know how to do coaching, once you understand it as a modality more broadly, right? And you feel comfortable navigating in this kind of ocean, right? You'll see that there's totally your way to go about it as long as you keep the mindset, you stay client centered, you create opportunities for reflection, and you are not telling people what to do.
exactly. As ICF mentioned in their description of coaching, I remember they put the word art in it, the art and the science of coaching. So it means that there is something strict that we need to follow, but there's also flexibilities for each coach to
Yeah.
explore. And I do believe, ICF or the industry, the world of coaching needs to evolve in a way that we bring more diversity into it, in respecting all our guidelines, and the better the industry will become.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on this. So what additional knowledge or skills might it be useful for coaches to explore or learn or get trained in order to do coaching around executive presence? So,
Mm.
would just their basic coach training suffice, or would it be beneficial to learn something on top of this?
I would say, first of all, I say everything from my own experience. I don't
Of
have
course. Yeah. Yeah.
a
We are not
standard
writing a
guideline or
guidebook here.
anything.
It's
Yeah,
just practitioners' conversation.
yeah. So for me, because I'm connecting the dots of my experience, so for me, I'm a person who comes, decide or falls naturally into this niche after acquiring the other skills or experience. So for me, I feel myself grateful and benefit from those experience. So I would say I can easily, deliberately design exercise for my client. I can, mix coaching and acting freely because I've been doing coaching for 5 years. I know what is acting is, so I have this freedom to mix them, but still respecting the guidelines of each disciplines.
Right.
Um, so from my experience, I think necessary trainings is needed, both coaching and some sort of a somatic or acting or voice training is necessary. And those trainings will allow you to be in this presence. Either it's a coach presence or it's a executive presence, coach presence. And also it helps the coaches to identify what you see from the client. You know what I'm saying? For
Yeah.
example,
just to
if the
capture more
exactly,
evidence,
just to
maybe to
have
be
the ability to
more
capture
responsive.
from the client so that you can provide feedback, so that you can ask powerful questions and so on and so forth. So I think necessary training is needed. At the same time, it requires each coach to, use it in a way that you can bring values to the client. Maybe if you're a coach and you're super talented, you can capture the subtle voice differences, you can capture the subtle body difference in the client. Maybe you don't need 3 years or 5 years acting training like I did. A few, semesters or a fundamental training is needed. It depends on each coach to explore yourself and see how much you can bring value to the client.
Right. So sounds like from what I'm hearing you say is it's important to have coaching skills, just understanding of the process and the relationship, right? It's important to be maybe sensitive to somatic signals as well, but how you get this or develop this sensitivity to somatic signals, there could be different paths for different coaches. So, for example, when I coach around presence, I haven't done any acting training, although that sounds quite exciting, but I'm a certified mindfulness practitioner. So, and as part of my mindfulness training, that was for 8 months, we also did a lot of kind of, body, emotion, connection, mind heart connection, energy, sensing, and all that. And I also got additional training in emotional intelligence. And I guess these are the elements that I integrate in my coaching, and that support me in coaching around similar topics.
Yes, exactly. Like the other niche, right? In coachings, the mindful, the somatic, the neuroscience space, and so on and so forth. We all have specific training so that the coaches are sensitive to help the client from certain angle. And like you said, yes, we need to be sensitive to the signals from the voice, from the body, everything. Well, at the same time, what I do with my client, I also create exercise for them, which means that I provide this very specific environment for them to explore themselves that they don't do in their daily life or at work. For example, move their body in a way, use their voice in a way. And I have so many this kind of exercise that I borrow from acting, of course,
So
that it
you
can
have like
help.
executive presence lab in your sessions.
Exactly. It's a lab so that people can play around and then
I
know
love
themselves
it.
better.
I totally love it.
Exactly. It's a lab.
So, what can clients expect as a result of executive coaching, coaching around executive presence process? What are some maybe tangible results they are able to see based on your clients' stories?
Mm. I would say the tangible result comes from the true transformation of themselves.
Mm.
Um, and the both of them needs to be how to say as a coach, I would like to help them to have both the true transformation in themselves, and also the tangible result that they can see and the people around them can see. If the transformation is the foundation, of course, it's the iceberg beneath the water, and the tangible result is only the tip of this iceberg on top. And this tip can include how you show up in meetings,
Mm.
how you manifest your confidence, how you impact people through efficient communication, how you leave a best impression, first or second or fifth impression in front of people at work, and how you be aware of your self-work afterwards, because you are not going to work with me for the rest of your life, but you are going to grow forever. So how you can learn acquire some awareness in yourself so that you know how to improve afterwards by yourself or have, with feedback from people around you.
Thanks for sharing. Well, Vivian, we are getting close to the end of our conversation. Time just
No.
flew by. I
Yeah.
would spend another hour with you easily.
Me too. I would love to continue the conversation. Well, actually, you got me so intrigued that I want to do a reverse interview with you. I want to learn more about you in this setup.
We can definitely create this opportunity. So before we wrap up, is there anything else, like a final message you would love to share, about executive presence, about coaching, to leaders, to coaching, just anything that you feel compelled to do?
I would say for leaders, bring more of your heart and your soul to the workplace, because your brain, your head is already very much powerful. It has reached the threshold, and your heart and your soul will become the further step for you. As we say, what got you here won't get you there, right? Your head, your logic, your rationality, your intelligence got you here, and your next step will be coming from your heart and your soul. And for
Love it. I totally
coaches,
love it.
yes, and for coaches, I want to say that bring your creativity, bring your own uniqueness to coaching. I know we need to follow this ICF requirements, we have standards, so on and so forth, but those standards are help us to be a eligible coach. They are not our coaching prison. So we respect them at the same time. Be creative, try new things. And this is how we make our own work interesting, make our own life interesting, and help our client in multiple ways.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, experience, and creativity. So, for everyone watching, if you want to connect with Vivian, we will provide her contact information in the episode description. So, feel free to reach out and explore your own executive presence. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Luba. And I looking forward discussing with our fellow coaches after this video.